The Assassin's Creed series has been around since 2007, with numerous installments since then. Assassin's Creed Unity is the very first next-gen Assassin's Creed game, and they definitely put more time and effort into making this one than they did with Rogue, which had the same release date. Unity's story takes place during the French Revolution and sets up the main character from the very beginning with its tie-in with Rogue. Now before we get any further, make sure you've played Assassin's Creed Rogue before playing this. Now, the story is pretty decent, even though it's one we've seen over and over again. Arno is out for redemption and vengeance as he gets dragged into the Templar Assassin War. The game is fairly long, it takes about 7-ish hours to defeat the main campaign, and the levels are pretty unique. I got a Hitman vibe with the assassination targets, which is a nice change. You can't disguise yourself though, sadly. Before we jump into the gameplay mechanics, let's talk about the characters. Arno, the main character, is a decent character, but he's far from the best main character we've gotten in the series. He can come off as Ubisoft trying to create another Ezio, but he's not a terrible character. The love interest, Elise, is a character you might not like. She's very focused on her goals and leaves little time for personal matters. The rest of the characters, with the exception of historical characters like Napoleon, are pretty forgettable. The voice acting is fantastic though, but one thing might bother you as you play through this one. Everyone has British accents in France. Makes sense, right? Yes, historically accurate. Guaranteed. I mean, here, look at this. This is Napoleon Bonaparte. Listen to him.
I'm not here at all. Not officially, anyway. But how often does one find the opportunity to poke about in a king's private study?
Yes, I know, right? Okay, but whatever. In terms of gameplay, they've really tried to spice things up here. They don't go too far away from the previous games, just to make sure things still feel familiar. The combat system is pretty good, and has been upgraded here and there. They've added a leveling system as well as a level system for the soldiers. This way, fights can be a little more difficult, which is something AC has needed for a long time. And it's harder to be OP unless if you grind, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who you are. The higher the level you are, the better weapons you can use. The max level is 5, and the system is pretty good, but it gets better in Syndicate. Now, here's the real question. Are the enemies stupid? Well, there have been some improvements, but there are still really easy ways of taking them all out. You'll fight a variety of soldiers such as standard footmen, snipers, grenadiers, and some axe boys. Fighting a large group isn't as easy as it was in the older games, which is a nice change. In AC1, if you're good enough, you could literally take on a crowd of 20 men at a time. To sub these guys, you'll need some weapons. Weapons can now be bought in the customization menu. There are swords, spears, pistols, rifles, and heavy weapons. Each one has different stats and are good for certain situations. There are tons of weapons to try out. Speaking of customization, in the menu you can customize how Arno looks, give him better armor, and unlock skills by using skill points. Money, skill points, and items can be unlocked by completing levels. The system is pretty great, and it looks like it's here to stay for a while. Something very noticeable is the integration of a new stealth system. For the first time in an Assassin's Creed game, you can actually crouch and hide behind walls. I know, right? It took them this long to figure this out. The cover system is pretty great. It can be used to easily kill upwards of 5 people. The game finally has more of a stealth side to it, which helps when the enemies are higher levels than you. You can even cover stab people, which works well. This game also sees the inclusion of a new lockpicking mechanic, and it's actually good. It's similar to Bioshock where you have a bar that moves up and down as you have to hit the right spot to unlock it. Much better than Assassin's Creed 3's poor attempt at lockpicking. Another thing to note is the open world stuff. There are side missions, chests, and even murder mysteries, which are the best to explore and find out. Your map gets so crowded with things to do and find. I'll leave you to explore. In all, this isn't exactly the best Assassin's Creed game, but these new mechanics get improved upon in Syndicate. If you're a fan of the franchise, definitely check this one out. Just note that this probably won't be your favorite Assassin's Creed game, but make sure you play the other ones first, they are way better, especially Assassin's Creed 2, Black Flag, and Rogue. Anyways, so my final rating for this game is a 4 out of 6, which is a recommended. Thank you guys for watching, hope you've enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys next time.